So I've serged the straight side, the straight edge of both of my semicircles, and now I'm going to join them together. There are a couple of schools of thought. Some people just serge every seam and call it a day. Some people like to serge around all pattern pieces and then stitch together. For this one, we're going to serge our pattern pieces, which is just 2, and then stitch it together. So it occurred to me in the last clip that this might be the worst fabric to try and show you the difference between the top layer and the bottom layer, because they look so much the same on the front and the back. There's very little difference, so it's hard for you to see when I'm adjusting the fabric. So I'm going to try and zoom in and show you a little better. Basically what happened is we stitched the 2 pieces together, and then we opened it wide on that seam. But I need to move the waist cutout up. So what I'm doing is I measured from this end to find the midpoint, which I know is 34 inches because that's what I cut my radius at, and I put a pin there. See, I got a pin there, if I could focus, which I can't. And then I measured down and adjust the fabric until I find the 28-inch mark that I want. So I just kept moving, deeky-deeky-da, twist, 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 shuffle, shuffle, shuffle the fabric until I got that to be about 28 inches on the top layer. So the bottom layer is obviously much, much longer. Goes all the way down to here. So from here, what we're going to do is where that pin is, I'm now going to fold this fabric over, sandwich like, so that there's a fold here, and then we'll cut our waist measurement right here. So now you can see where I have carefully folded over my skirt. And the pin is even still in place from where I marked my center. And now I'm going to measure out the waist. And I know for my waist, I usually cut about, well, I'm supposed to cut like 4 1/4, but I don't always do that. But today we will. So we will do 4 1/2 because that's the normal measurement for a 28-inch waist. We would do this at 48 because it's got to get over your hips, right? And there's no give in this fabric. So all that cheat I tend to do with a knit, you know, I cut it shorter. I cut like a 3 1/2 on something with a lot of stretch. So it will hang the way I want it to. But for this one, since there is no stretch, we are going to measure 4 1/2, like the good little calculators tell us to. And so there are all my pins. And then we find where we hit our scissors. And we cut it. Just like we did for the hem. And now we have got the waist cut out for the skirt. Now the thing about cutting out the waist is once you cut it too big, you can't really go back. You can cut it too small and fix that, but if you cut it way too big, you can't go back. The one good thing we have about this is that we're going to put an elastic band on it. So even if you do cut it too big, we can probably fix it with the waist. Here's where we are. I tried my skirt on. Fits great. Comes right up over the hips the way I want it to. You want to make sure that your skirt fits up over the hips nice and smooth. From there, what we're going to do now is what I'm going to do now is I'm going to put my hem on, because I can't stand hems, especially on a full circle skirt like this. That hem is going to be very long, and it takes a really long time, and I get bored very quickly. So we want to get that out of the way so that by the time I put the waistband on, skirt's completely done. Because once you get the waistband on, it's like, woo, I'm done. Then you go, oh no, I've got to do the hem. So we're going to get the hem out of the way. You do the hem however you choose to do yours. Let me tell you how we're going to attack the waistband. Basically what we're going to do is we're going to cut a waistband. We're going to fold it over and stitch it closed, and then we're going to, you know, run the elastic through there, close that up, right? Close that into one loop, and then we're going to attach that whole casing with the elastic already inside to the skirt. And that's different than any way I've ever done them before, but I really, really like this method. And then by the time you've done that, your skirt is completely finished. So let's get to it. For my 1-inch elastic casing, I want to cut a 3-inch wide waistband. So my board is marked. My board has little marks on it. So 1, 2, 3. So what I'm going to do is 1, 2, 3. I'm just going to pin my measuring tape at that 3-inch mark. You mark your 3 inches however you see fit. This is what I'm doing. Okay, I took my waistband to the ironing board and have folded it in half. Wrong sides together, because this one you want to have right sides out, because you're not going to turn your casing out or anything. You're going to just put your seam on it, and then we're going to run the elastic through it, close it, and then attach it to the skirt. So now it's time to run the elastic through the casing. So what we do is, or what I do, how you like my fingernail? That's the only one I got painted. So what we do is we put a safety pin on the end of our elastic, and then we run that through the casing. Right? And with the safety pin on there, it makes it a lot easier to pull the elastic. I don't know. If you're new to sewing or haven't done a whole lot with elastic or whatever, you may find or may have found that running elastic through casings is sort of a pain. But if you put a safety pin on the end, you'll get to the end of your casing so much faster than if you do not, and with fewer tears. So you just keep pulling on the safety pin, scooching your fabric down on your elastic, and look, we have now come out the other side. Now that the elastic is met at both ends of the casing, I'm just going to bring those two sides together, right? And I'm going to serge this shut. You could do this with zigzag. You could do it the traditional casing way. This is just the way I like to do it. Or you could just fold the top of your skirt over and make the casing like that, right from the skirt, and put your elastic in that way. I just personally want to throw up every time I think about having to do a casing that way. So this is the way I prefer to do it. And there, that's all done. So now I've got one, basically a garter. And what I'm going to do is I will run this back through this. I'm going to run that back through that seam so that tail isn't hanging out. And now I'm going to attach this seam to the top of my skirt, and we'll be all done. So we're at the home stretch. We've got our skirt all hemmed, and now we've got our waistband, and all we have to do is join the two together. Skirt's done. So what I did before I got to this point was I put a little nick in my fabric there. I put one in the center back, one in the center front, and two on the side, which I usually wind up ignoring anyway.